Hour 3 of the Nutrimedical Report for Friday, the 10th of August, and we have John Moore. His show is 7 to 9 a.m., Monday to Friday Central Time on the Republic Network. LibertyMan.com is his website. Ann Morrison, our scientist, here to talk about earthquakes, volcanoes, and solar galactic events. Her website is homeland-defense4u.com. In the bottom of the hour, we'll have Christina Consolo dropping in, give us an update on what's going on with the Fukushima issues. John, what's the latest?
Well, the latest is, Dr. Bill, one source reporting that at 29 Palms, which is a Marine Corps base in California, more than 100 miles from the ocean at 2,500 feet above sea level, they're installing natural gas-fired turbine generators to make electricity to supply the whole base, digging new wells, putting in new wastewater treatment plants, and bringing in a lot more equipment and supplies in preparation for what they're getting ready for, with a November 1st deadline. Now, about an hour after that, I had a second source call me up and say, it's not just 29 Palms, John. It's all bases that are, all military bases that are not close in altitude or distance from the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, or Gulf Coast. And they all have a deadline of 1 November to get the natural gas turbines up and running, along with whatever other modifications and improvements, infrastructure improvements are doing to make the place completely self-sustained for years if necessary.
Yeah.
So that's what's latest.
To me, that's it just makes it's good hygiene, it's good preparedness. In other words, maybe the government are just getting their act together and realizing that, like we talk about, we're preppers. They need to be prepared for the fact here we're going to have a heat wave in the next 3 days in California. We said repeatedly there's multiple reasons why the grid's not going to survive. Increased load, we saw it in India just a week ago. CMEs can happen. Terrorist attacks, we know that they're doing testing for the last 5 years off of India, in the Persian Gulf, the Iranians shooting missiles straight up in the air. When you put a missile 50,000 feet straight up in the air, you're not doing targeting. There's no targeting. These missiles are designed to carry an EMP weapon. A very small yield EMP weapon 200 miles off the Atlantic or Pacific coast will take a radial 1,500 miles in any direction, electronic wipeout, clean slate,
right.
no
The
power.
higher the altitude, the broader the reach of the EMP effect.
Right.
They're also very concerned about a solar flare or a Carrington type event the next 6 months. And for those
That's
who don't
very
know,
likely. Yeah,
right, a Carrington event would be a repeat of what happened in 1859, just before the Civil War, when we got hit by a solar flare. Now, we didn't have a power grid, of course, at that point in time, but we did have a nationwide telegraph service, and those wires acted as antennas to direct the energy into the telegraph offices, which started fires. A similar event now would knock out our nationwide power grid and literally bring this country to its knees instantly.
Well, what I've done personally, and I searched out different options. Number one, I put a 20 kilowatt generator and increased to 2 tanks, so I have 2 500-gallon tanks for propane. Secondly, I've researched and found a company in Colorado that can supply lithium pyrophosphate batteries, which is the best long-acting batteries that are light, powerful, non-explosive, don't contain lead. Lithium pyrophosphate power controllers that can be hooked up to solar panels that I do not want hooked up to the grid. They recently ruled here in California that the utilities have to pay a fair price, but if you have solar panels linked up to utility, when the utility goes down, you don't have power.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, even over this weekend, the likelihood that we're going to have a power outage. We had 2 power outages, by the way, in the last 3 weeks. Some of them lasting just 3 or 4 hours, but they did last. Our power went out for 2 seconds. It was a transfer switch, immediately switched on. We were right up to full power. Once I have my lithium pyrophosphate batteries, I can hook up a small number or a large number of solar panels. I can charge up those batteries. I can put a small wind generator. The power controller will basically determine the load and decide whether or not, you don't need to turn on your propane generator, so maybe you only have it on when you have high load. And it just pulls either from the batteries at night or from the solar panels during the day or the wind when it's windy. So basically that's the ideal system. You have to get planning to get off the grid. They're also planning to put Agenda 21 smart meters on everything from gas, electric, and water, and they're pushing them everywhere. We had them here in the recent fair here in Vista, California, and I asked the lady who was talking about these how great they are. So do you realize that these are not only toxic, but they also increase the risk of fire because they put electricity down the power lines to actually determine what the power usage is. So if they're on a gas line, we found that the San Bruno fire was probably triggered off by smart meters that are actually on the system up the line.
That's
put power into it. Yeah, not good. So I agree. I think that when people were trying to jump into conclusions, and there were people out there that were asking me to come on when I said, look, I don't have corroboration of an incoming object at a specific date, but I do know it's coming in. I mean, even we have the reports in the public media of the senior astronomers in Brazil. I have my contacts in South America. You've been looking at it. You talked to McKinney. We know that there's an object that Ann's going to talk about in a moment that we've talked about before. It's 197 feet across. It's calculated to come in on February 15th, my birthday, 2013, at 5,000 miles above the surface of the Earth with a wide margin of error, up to 2,000 mile margin of error. Probably has a debris field around it with many other asteroids, anywhere from the size of a Winnebago to the size of a refrigerator that will be coming in. This could be very significant. And if it strikes an area, and if you actually did some calculations, and I want you to tell us what you found, Ann, when you did your calculations about this. This is only one of many things. I'd say CME in 2013, a virtual guarantee. Somewhere the power is going to go out, and won't just be incompetence like in India where everybody's pumping because of drought. It'll be a CME knocks out the power, say, in Europe or across the Midwest United States. And you lose equipment, so you're not back up in 2 or 3 days. You may be up in 3 or 6 months. Right?
Well, that's right. The Earth is so much bigger than this asteroid, and this asteroid is so close. The distance that they're estimating from the mathematical models is 5,000 miles, plus or minus 2,000 miles. The condition is 4, which means it's a wide margin of error. And because of its size, they're comparing it on a Trina scale to a Trina scale 4, which is the same as the Tunguska event, which flattened an area the size of the country of Luxembourg and Siberia in 1908. So this is one to watch, and as it gets closer to us, as we get closer to February 15th, they will be updating the trajectory, and so we need to be alert that about where it's going to strike. Right now, I am predicting that it's going to strike someplace off the west coast of North America.
Yeah, in fact, I told you about the 2 visions I had last week, and one was standing vision for 20 minutes in downtown Tehran, and I could describe it. If somebody knew downtown Tehran, they could maybe know where I was talking about, because it's between a university and a military base right beside it, and there were high-rises near it, like apartment buildings or university buildings, and fuel air bombs were killing people. And the other vision was I saw a very narrow angle object coming into the North Pacific, northwest of the Hawaiian Islands, and it struck off there. And I don't know when it is, whether it's this one or some future date, but it was very vivid. It was like, whoa, it was like...
Now, this is not an extinction level event.
No, but it could create a pretty large tsunami.
It could create a tsunami, and it could also create a lot of rain, because it'll push a lot of water vapor into the air. And that water vapor would be west of us, of the United States, and therefore the jet stream would carry it over the United States, and we might end up with flooding. Yeah,
we might end up with torrential flooding. Here in California, and anybody who lives in California knows about flash floods. We had a flash flood warning just 2 days ago because we had some clouds that looked up in the sky that looked like, ooh, something bad's going to happen. So there's a warning here in Southern California. A flash flood is so much rain that falls out of the sky that literally the sides of these muddy hills that haven't had rain for months just decide to come right down on you and sweep away your home. It's crazy, but it happens. Back in a moment. Great to clarify that, but it means that things are happening, the government's getting ready for something, and we just know that we need to keep our eyes open and ask better questions. Back in a moment. Earthquake Central, scientists required, and tell us what's going on. We had a double earthquake up in Yorba Linda, which is just about an hour north of here near Santa Ana, 4 point something, and what does that mean? We also had an earthquake in the extension of the fault zone called the San Andreas Fault down in the Baja California in the Sea of Cortez. The last time we hit one about 280 miles away, we had a pretty big shaking here in Vista. And by the way, we're about 60-some miles from the nearest fault line zone up in near Palm Springs, etc., where it goes through the high desert. The fault lines, there aren't any near right here because we're sitting literally on a granite mountain at 1,000 feet, and behind us is 1,700 feet, and just about 5 miles east of us is Palomar Mountain up to 6,100 feet. So it's different, but the fault lines are further east of that. In other words, it's